Hello everyone and welcome to the Season 1 Week 5 BOP tier list video. This week's data was captured Thursday afternoon CST using the iRacing Reports Discord, link below. Starting off with the Touring Car Challenge, this week it goes to Donington Park. And for the Fixed Series, the RS3 sits over a 1 second off between its median average lap pace to the fastest car this week, although not terribly off from the middle two cars, and so we'll go C tier. The two middle cars I speak of are the Civic and Veloster going in A, with the Elantra continuing its dominance going S tier. So here's your Touring Car Challenge Fixed tier list for this week at Donington. And for the Open Series, do note that we are lacking a bit of data points, so the results here are not particularly strong. But in similar fashion to the Fixed, I got the RS3 in C tier. The Civic falls a bit behind the Veloster and goes B, while the Veloster stays A, with that Elantra taking S+. So here's your Touring Car Challenge Open tier list for this week at Donington. Alright, moving on to the GT4 series, which is at the new road course this season, Magny-Cours. Being a new course, participation is excellent so far in both the Fixed and Open series. Not surprising, as in a few other series I've raced this track on so far, it's a pretty good one. Anyways, for the Fixed series, per usual with the Fixed setups, BOP is pretty good. One car that's usually behind in this series and is here as well, but not by as much as usual, is the Porsche going C. I then got the McLaren B, the Aston and BMW A, with that Mac Daddy Mercedes taking S+ tier. So here's your GT4 Challenge Fixed tier list for this week at Magny-Cours. Alright, moving on to the Open Series. And in quite a twist, the BOP improves a little bit here with the Open setups this week. We got the Porsche going B, McLaren A-, BMW and Aston Martin in A, as the Mercedes takes only S tier here. And so here's your GT4 Challenge Open tier list for this week at Magny-Cours. And do note for those running the Roar before the 24 this weekend, BOP adjustments have been announced for the GT4's touring cars. For the touring cars, the Elantra gets an extra 8 kilograms. For the GT4s, in a curious move, the Aston, BMW, and Mercedes are all getting a plus 10 kilograms added to nerf them all closer to the Porsche. On face value, not sure if that solves the issue of the Mercedes still being an S tier, as we saw last week, and to the BMW and Aston Martin's B tier, but we shall see. It's also important to consider that it is a longer race and maybe it has something to do with tire wear or other factors that maybe affect the Mercedes, and thus adding weight to it causes the tires to wear out quicker and thus it comes in closer to the other cars. Who knows? But we shall see next week. And the GT3 Challenge Fix goes to Daytona International Raceway Road Course this week. Start getting folks prepped for the upcoming Daytona 24 event taking place next weekend in iRacing. And I also have an important note here before we get started on this list. Patch number 2 for this season, which was deployed just prior to the start of week 5, saw BOP adjustments applied across the board to almost all the GT3s, which we can see here in this graphic. As such, with off the charts participation across the majority of cars, I've got BOPs looking pretty good, with only 2 cars outside that 1 second window and just barely. Those 2 cars being the Ferrari, which I'm going to put in C, with that McLaren in C+. And as per usual, a caveat with the McLaren, it can be much faster if you can handle her. In B, I had the BMW and Lamborghini, an A- to the Ford, which can be fast if you can handle him. Then with the return to form, I had the Mercedes in A, and an A+ to the Audi, with that Porsche taking S tier this week. And we will have to wait and see how track dependent these changes will be in the coming weeks. And so here's your GT3 Challenge Fixed tier list for this week at Daytona. And just a quick note, if you're enjoying this BOP video, drop the hammer on that like and sub button if you haven't already. If you'd like to show a little bit more support for the work I put into these types of videos, there's also the super thanks and join buttons below. Okay, now let's see how the BOPs pan out for the GT3s in that 40-minute open setup VRS Sprint race. Unfortunately for the Ford, with only 11 data points, it's going to go inconclusive. However, the rest of the field is still looking fairly tight overall, with 2 cars just outside that 1 second window from this week's fastest car. Although it must be pointed out, if you remove said car, the rest of the field's median times are within approximately a half second of each other. So with that noted, I have the Ferrari and BMW in a B-, the Mercedes, Lamborghini, and McLaren B+, the Audi in an A. The Porsche taking S+ tier, with reflections of its dominance from last season having returned with this mid-season update. So here's our VRS GT3 Sprint tier list for this week at Daytona. And with this BOP here at Daytona fresh in your mind, I will also note BOP for the Daytona 24 event has been made public, with the Ferrari and Mercedes getting an added plus 10 kilograms, the Porsche getting a minus 1% power decrease and a minus 1% to fuel capacity. Now I see the reason for the Porsche nerf, but I cannot say I see why the Ferrari and Merc are being nerfed based on the data results we're using here. One consideration could be tire wear discrepancy, but beyond that I am unsure. Either way, this BOP will be applied to IMSA endurance race this weekend, so I may try to do a short video covering the results of this on Monday. So be sure to stay tuned and subscribe to the channel in the meantime. Okay, the multi-class open setup IMSA Hagerty series also goes to the new road course this season, Magny-Cours. And with both the GT3 series and ESS with its LMP2 LMDH going to Daytona this week, participation in IMSA is unfortunately very low, to the point that Mercedes will go inconclusive with too few data points. But on a side note, I did run the LMP2 here earlier this week, and it was a great course for multi-class racing, so it's a shame to see such low participation. Regardless, with the data we do have, I got the BMW in a C+, the Ferrari in a B-, then an A- to the Lamborghini, an A+ to the Audi and Porsche. But again, that is a little low, so the results of this are a little rough. But regardless, here's our IMSA Hagerty Series GT3 tier list for this week at Magny-Cours. Alright, last but not least, I'll quickly hit the European Sprint Series, which goes to, as I said, Daytona Road Course. Although the series itself seems popular this week, unfortunately not a lot of GT drivers. I found the field to be dominated exclusively by LMDH and LMP2 cars in the lower splits. As a result, data is a bit thin here. With that said, I had the BMW and Corvette in C, Ferrari B, and the RSR S tier. That Ford going inconclusive. And so here's your European Sprint GTE tier list for this week at Daytona. So there you have it, folks. Please go check out one of my other most recent videos up in the right hand corner, and I do stream some of my longer official races in league racing here and other various games outside of racing over on my other YouTube channel. Links below for that, as well as my other socials. Until next time, safe driving.